everyone and welcome back to the FPL Family YouTube channel. I'm Sam and today it is Jammy Pick time. Yes, I know it should have been Jammy Pick time on Tuesday, but this week has been just a little bit chaotic and it's Jammy Pick time today instead. As always, we'll start with a look back on the Jammy Picks from last time, have a look who did well, who didn't do so well. I'm looking at you, Amaric Laporte, and go from there. So last week's Jammy Pick was Rodrigo at Leeds. Right player, got a goal, actually picked up a bonus point as well, but obviously also got booked, so ended up with 6 points. Decent Jammy Pick for last week, I will 100% take that. Also had Chris Wood on the Jammy Pick graphic from last week. He got 6 points for his goal in that game also, so I'll take those two as a definite win. The other player I had on that graphic last week was James Ward-Prowse at Southampton. I feel like I might have gone a little bit early on him. I do think he's got real potential against Aston Villa tonight and actually could have easily made it back into that video again today because his record against Aston Villa is ridiculous. So they are the team that he likes to play against more than anybody else. More goal involvements against Aston Villa than any other club that he plays against. 2 goals and 3 assists in the last 4 meetings between those sides for him. The other guy I had on there then, Laporte, -3, red card. Less said about him. In fact, less said about Man City in Game Week 10, the better. So let's move on then to look at the Jammy Picks for Game Week 11. Now, all feels like it might have changed a little bit over the last few days with the arrival of Conte at Spurs, and obviously I've already done a video on that. Pop a little link to that one up above, so if you want to go back and watch that one, you can do. That shares my thoughts on Spurs and what we should maybe expect from them now that Conte has arrived. But as always then, I've picked 4 potential Jammy Picks. We'll go through them all and then I'll pick one out that I think is the actual jammiest pick for this week. So the 4 guys that I have picked, and no, I haven't lost the plot. There are indeed 2 Brighton players on this graphic. So let's start with them then. Trossard, 14 shots in the last 4 game weeks for Trossard. Only Salah has managed more than he has. He's also created 7 chances in the last 4 game weeks. He's on unbelievable form. And then when we have a look back at game week 10 versus Liverpool, gets a goal, has 2 shots in the box, creates 2 other chances for his teammates and actually has another goal disallowed in that game. Was ridiculously good for Brighton in that one. When we look at this fixture last season, he got a goal and an assist. And now, of course, he is playing in a false 9. I'm not sure that there's not a lot to like about Trossard right now. He comes in at a really nice price. Obviously, a huge differential because he is making it into the Jammy Pick video for this season. So I'm just going to look up because I actually sillily forgot, I don't know if the name is sillily is a word. I forgot to do that before we came on. So he's owned by 1.7% of the game right now. So Trossard could be a really fantastic pick. And up there alongside him is one of his defensive chums in Cucurella. I've probably butchered that name, so sorry, Mark, if you're watching. 5 million he is going to cost you. He is the jammiest pick of all. Actually, not quite. There's one that's more jammy. He is in there at 1.1% owned. Defensively, last time around, I only registered the 1 point because obviously Liverpool did score a couple of goals in that game, but so super impressive for me. And he's somebody that FPL managers really shouldn't be overlooking. He was top across the Brighton team for expected assists, top for passes with 63, top for successful passes with 50, as well as joint top with Lallana for big chances created in game week 10 against Liverpool. So very, very nice underlying stats for him in a very difficult game. Fixtures coming up against Newcastle, obviously, and then Aston Villa and Leeds. I think he could be an excellent pick. He could be a jammy pick for the next 3 weeks, to be honest. And he is somebody that I would be seriously looking to invest in if I was going to think about my free transfer. Or if I didn't have Sanchez in goal. I think for me with Sanchez in goal, I'm not sure I want to double up there in the Brighton defence, but I do think he has real potential. When we have a little look at their Game Week 11 opponents, Newcastle, they've managed just 27 attempts on goal in the last 4 game weeks. That's the worst in the division. And in that time, they've also had just 3 big chances. Again, that's the fewest in the league. So when we think about that, that gives Cucurella a really great chance of keeping a clean sheet this game week. And with his underlying stats, as I mentioned before, in terms of his expected assists, in terms of top for big passes, top for successful passes, top for big chances created, all of that suggests that there's potential upside for him as well in terms of attacking returns too. I think this could be the time where double Brighton might really, really pay off. So Trossard and Cucurella both making it into the potential jammy picks for the week. And if we have a little look across the graphic and down a little bit, we can see Brian Mbeumo. I always say it wrong. Brian Mbeumo, I think that is how you say it. Now, for me, he is a player, well, I think that we've been really unlucky with if you've owned him so far this season. He's currently owned by 4.2% of the game, so he's the most heavily owned of all of the picks that I have out there for you today. He has hit the woodwork 6 times so far this season. But one of the things I really love about him is the fact that he plays out of position. So the fact that he is playing as an out of position striker alongside Ivan Toney, and he is about to come up against the worst defence in the league in Norwich. Now, obviously, Norwich will go into these games thinking this is the sort of game we need to win. These are against teams that we know well because obviously they've come up from the Championship together, and I suspect that Norwich will try and attack a little bit more in this game and get something out of it. That will leave plenty of space for the likes of Toney and Mbeumo. With Mbeumo being an out-of-position striker alongside Toney, for me that makes him a slightly better option, simply because obviously there is more upside to him in terms of the points that he can register, clean sheet points if that sticks, and also of course more points for goals. So for me, he is a really nice pick this week, and he is somebody that I am targeting with my transfers in, because Damari Gray, I'm starting to lose the will to live with you. And finally on there, well, I couldn't have done a video when Conte arrives at Spurs without putting a Spurs player on there at all. And obviously, a number of the really key ones that we'll be looking at for Spurs over the next few weeks are already owned by over 5% of the game. So there are a couple that we could have gone with. Obviously, Kane doesn't make it. He's in at 6.6 million now, percent owned now, sorry. Son, the most heavily owned of them all, in at 17.7%. And then I was kind of looking at the defence thinking, oh, that might be some nice options in Reguilon, but he is owned now by 9.2% of the game. He's had an increase this week. I think people thinking that he's going to play in this attacking position that we're all expecting under Conte. Royale will still offer you some fantastic differential potential if you want to go there. And obviously, Spurs playing in the conference after I've recorded this, so we're yet to see what kind of team Conte will put out in that for his first game in charge. But if you wanted to go with Royale, he's owned by just 0.2% of the game, so massive, massive differential. But here for you in this video, I have the mighty Lucas Moura, owned by just 0.7% of the game. Now, this is a slightly risky pick here, and I think we might get some more understanding after the conference. I'm expecting Antonio Conte to play the team roughly that he's going to play against Everton in the conference on Thursday evening, because this is going to be one of the only opportunities he gets to do this. It was late on Thursday when Spurs announced that the work permit had arrived and therefore that he could be in charge for the conference game on Thursday evening. I suspect that he will stick with players that are in form and have been playing well. Now, for me, I obviously watch a lot of Spurs. Lucas Moura is the in-form player at Spurs right now. It was that moment when Nuno took him off that he lost me, because Lucas Moura was the only player out there that I actually thought was trying to do something and was going to make a difference. Now, we have potential for some rotation risk around Lucas Moura now, which I think is a bit of a shame, and it depends upon how Conte sets up. Now, if you've watched my Spurs video, you'd have already seen this graphic, which I displayed in that. If we set up like this, I think it gives Lucas Moura a really nice chance, and what we could see, obviously, is Kane and Son sitting closer together up top in that strike partnership, with Lucas Moura kind of coming in behind the two of them. That could work really well for Lucas Moura. It could also mean he sits further back and maybe plays in the Emerson style role, but I don't see that happening. I think he's going to be up there more close to Son and Kane, ahead of Skippy and Højbjerg if he plays that system. Now, of course, there is the potential that he doesn't play that system, and that rather than doing that, he goes for something like, that's not the right one, this. And if he does that, obviously, that will mean no Lucas Moura. So we've got to see what happens, but I do think that if Conte plays Lucas Moura this week, he will be a really, really nice pick. Obviously, Spurs coming up against an Everton side that have been woeful defensively over the last few weeks, and they are exactly the sort of team that I could see Lucas Moura exploiting. So these are my 4 options for Jammy Picks this week: Lucas Moura, Trossard, Cucurella, and also Mbeumo from Brentford. I have decided that my jammy pick for this week is Leandro Trossard from Brighton. I just don't think you can overlook those stats. When you see somebody at the price point that he is, at the ownership that he is, with a nice fixture like Brighton have, with only Salah having more shots than him in the last 4 game weeks, what's not to like? Let me know in the comments below what you think of my Trossard pick for this week. Do you think he makes a good jammy pick for the week? Who do you think is the best jammy pick for the game week? If you've enjoyed this video, please hit the like button. And if you haven't already done so, please subscribe to our channel. Good luck in Game Week 11. I'll be back with Lee on Sunday with our normal live stream. Take care, everyone, and I'll see you then.